Just before we get started, just in case anybody else is going, this seems a little bit odd, I would just say that this is a weird election year. The election obviously took place November 8th. Certification has not occurred yet at the county level. The Board of Campuses are working. We checked this afternoon. They anticipate that the election will be certified tomorrow. So for one more meeting, you are stuck with me. So appreciate your patience and your attendance tonight. I'm going to call the November 21st meeting of the Board of Trustees to order. Would you all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Roll call. Clerk Trapp? Bartholomew?
Here.
Edwards?
Here.
Fowler?
Yes.
Hurt? Parker?
Here.
Poznanski? Yes. Melzan? Here. We have 6 present. Hart did notify me of his absence, so if you want to mark it as excused. Okay. I was aware that he was not attending. All right, up on your agenda is the consent agenda. In that, you have minutes from October 17th. You have council bills and a vendor report. Council bills total $45,498.23. And the vendor report reflects $532,597.35. You also have tonight's meeting agenda. Is there any discussion? Or
I'd like to pull out tonight's agenda and had a question on the vendor report.
okay, so what would you like to change on the agenda?
Last month, I believe, I wasn't here, but I believe you guys had said that it should be on tonight's for the vacated alley.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see it on there. I don't know if it should be. Should we add that?
It was not published properly, so we had to publish a cancellation notice, so it's being republished and it will be on your next meeting agenda.
Copy. Thank you.
I do have an agenda addition if we're still stick on that same one. I have been asked to add on here to a new business, the Lions Pack the Bus event. Didn't get in on time, so we're gonna put it on here. I guess under E and new business. Can you hear me?
No, the Lions what?
Lions Pack the Bus event?
The Lions, the Romeo Lions Pack the Bus event. They need an event permit for their December event on Main Street.
There's a new business, E.
Yes.
Any other additions or deletions to the agenda? Can I get a motion to approve the agenda with that addition?
I'll make that motion.
Support. Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 6-0. You had a question on the council bills?
Yeah,
Or
just,
the vendor report, which one?
so it's, it shows up several, but on the bottom of the vendor activity report, second from the bottom, US book, or blue book, what is that for?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to,
USA Blue Book is us. It's like Ranger, we bought some parts from him, some pump parts.
Oh, okay.
bottom of second page is where he's talking about.
Oh, just on the vendor activity.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Was that it?
That was
You
it,
just had
yeah,
a
I
question
just didn't know
regarding
what
that
that was.
expense? Any other questions regarding the bills?
Thank you.
I will not belabor us with the credit card, but yet again, almost $1,000 and nothing here, so there's that. I do have minutes, though.
Okay, so we can make a motion to approve the bills first, so we just discussed that.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills.
Motion by Edwards, support by Bartholomew. Roll call, please. Edwards?
Yes.
Bartholomew?
Yes.
Fowler?
Yes.
Parker?
No.
Poznanski?
No.
Malzahn? Yes. 4-2. 4-2, motion carries. Okay, and then you said you had a question regarding the minutes?
Yes, on the second page at the top during my report, it says I attended the school board meeting. I don't want that to say I did not attend the school board meeting. I met with the superintendent personally.
Okay.
So I just don't want anyone to, oh, you were there and I really wasn't there. And then a couple more pages, let's say, second from the last. The Marketplace alley, vacating the alley, I made that motion. It's not Malzahn.
Okay. What agenda item was that?
New
10B?
business, yes, B. And that's that.
Any other discussion? I'll make a motion to approve the minutes with those corrections.
Support?
Motion by Malzahn, support by Edwards. All in favor?
Aye.
Any
I'll
oppo-
abstain. I wasn't here.
Okay. So,
That's not a valid reason, okay. I'm sorry, motion by Milzon, support by,
Yes.
who was that again? Edwards?
Edwards, yes. Okay, so that was 5, yeah. 5 with 1 abstain, okay. All right, next up, we have a special presentation. I'd like to welcome Mr. Robert Priest with us tonight. He is going to be sworn in. Robert Priest will be starting as a new police officer on December 5th. Mr. Priest is a 22-year veteran of the Warren Police Department. He worked at Highland Park Police Department prior to Warren. He retired from the Warren Police Department in 2021 as a lieutenant. He has experience as a detective and a school resource officer. He also worked in the traffic division for a while. Mr. Priest will be filling the open shift that was created when Officer Patrick Bauer became a school resource officer at the middle school. So, welcome. I appreciate you being here with your beautiful family. And if you would please stand up by the flag. Catherine will do the honors to get you all sworn in. Raise your right hand, please. I, please state your name.
I, Robert Priest,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of Michigan,
and the Constitution of Michigan,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of the Village of Romeo Police Department
of the office of the Village of Romeo Police Department
as a fully empowered officer
as a fully empowered officer
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, welcome.
Looks like Romeo. There's no other city that came from Highland Park. I wonder if they know him. So he was in Highland Park first. At least that's my understanding. Getting Romeo as a police officer.
Thank you very much. Do you want to address the council or? Okay.
Yeah.
Address them, we can see him on screen side, that's all that means, right?
I know. They're always young.
Thank you and congratulations. Thanks. Okay, we have no correspondence, so up next would be public comment. So we can roll the podium back into
Okay.
position. And anybody here in the audience who wishes to address this board can come forward. Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Jeremy Rickert. I do not live in the community. However, I'm the UAW chairman at the Ford Romeo engine plant. And your last meeting, you guys had some questions and comments that was forwarded to me several times throughout the last month about some information that I believe was misinformation about the closing of the Romeo engine plant. Okay. First and foremost, we have 465 employees there that will be done December 23rd. Okay. Everybody seemed to think that this plant's staying open for a period of time, and that was misinformation. That's not facts. I don't know where everybody's getting their information from. We have approximately 160 people that are retiring because the plant is closing, and they had no other choice, frankly. We have about 231 employees that will be indefinitely laid off right before Christmas. I know a lot of people are under the assumption that it's status quo over there, but we build our last engine the week of Christmas. So I don't know where this information got twisted or concerned or lied about, but I'm here to tell you that I've been in this position for quite some time, and since the 2019 contract, when this plant was slated to close. And I did not get a lot of communication from people on this board, okay? And to me, that's disheartening. This is your community. That's going to be blight in your community. This plant is going to close in your community. This is a huge tax revenue for your community. I've worked at Romeo Engine Plant for close to 25 years. I love this community. This is a great place to work. It's a great village. I think you guys should be a little bit more upset than you actually frankly are. We've organized rallies, multiple rallies, with very little support from the community. We all spend our money here. All of a lot of our employees are residents here. And to me, it seems outlandish that there wasn't more concern about, almost at the time when our building was slated to close, almost 1,000 employees, right? You guys are going to have a huge hole in your community. I hope you realize that. Again, we will have a few employees until March, and then there was some information that said that there will be Ford employees there. That is correct, but they are not Romeo Engine employees. They are taking over the building to do whatever they may do with it. Probably just let it sit idle, right? I just wanted to clarify some things, answer any questions anybody may have. I know last month there were some questions from the board members. The audio I got is all I got. I didn't get video, so I don't know who was asking certain questions, but please feel free to ask. I'm very easily attainable. People can get a hold of me in any particular way. If anybody wants my number, any questions, please feel free. There's a lot, I'm sure each and every one of you guys know somebody that works at that plant. There's a lot of people in this community that work there, and they're going to be without a job right before Christmas. If anybody has any questions, please, now's the time.
John Paul Rea, JP Rea.
JP, right?
Yep, JP Rea is a very, very intelligent person, and I don't think that I know his integrity, and I know he did not mislead people purposely. I think the company, Ford Motor Company, has given him some false information, blanket statements. Oh, there'll be employees in the building, not our employees, contract
The
employees.
information he gave us that night, you're saying is completely false. You have a whole-
I'm saying that there was some information. I only had the audio piece sent to me. Again, I don't know all the questions.
And you said that was given to JP Pie Ford?
I'm assuming. I don't
Okay,
know.
because I would hope you would go to Ford and tell them the same thing you're telling us.
I tell them every day.
Okay.
I tell them every day.
You're the union rep, right?
Correct. I tell them every day that it's shameful that a company that is supposedly family-driven would do this to people, right? In a village of this magnitude, this is a great community, right? It's gonna be blight. It's gonna be a hardship in this community.
According to him, he was holding all kind of little rallies and they had community participation.
I personally organized those rallies.
Yeah.
So, again, John Paul's staff and John Paul and Mark Hackle, great people. They have been with us 110% from day one. They've helped us secure over $180 million to help Ford Motor Company keep the building open. Ford Motor Company turned it down. $180 million. Think about that. That's a lot of money to say no thank you, right? John Paul's a very intelligent person. Mark Hackle's been outstanding. But again, I think that they're trying to have conversations with people that are outside of our building at a higher level, and sometimes, quite frankly, smoke gets blown up people's butt. And I'm trying to be
No, I
polite.
like the way you put it.
But quite honestly, that, there are going to be employees in the building after March, but it's not anybody who currently works there.
Thank you.
That plant will be slated to close with nobody hourly or salaried in that plant. Those numbers I gave you also are just UAW represented people. There's hundreds of other employees that work there.
Now, once it closes, Ford's has no other anticipated date of reopening it, or
There's
Nothing.
zero
Just-
planned for that facility
it's just a dead
today.
building at that time until it's sold?
This is what somebody told me a long time ago. Those that are saying don't know, and those that know aren't saying. So currently, there's nothing slated for that building.
Thank you.
So come April 1, closed. Not sure if that helps you guys. Any other questions? But I just felt like I wouldn't sleep at night if I didn't set some of those records straight. And again, John Paul is a great person and very, very intelligent. I just don't think he had factual information or was misled in some of that information. Because I know that Mark and himself are engaged, and they've done everything. I can't thank them enough. I really, truly can't. But sometimes people get told the wrong things, right, or misinterpret the wrong things.
Thank you.
Thank you for the update.
Okay.
Mr. Clark, can I ask you a question off of what he was explaining. So if it closes down at April, this date, end of the year, whatever, is there any possible way we could put a deed restriction or a restriction on the sale of that property, so?
No,
No, nothing? It's their property?
no, not unless there's some obligation they owe to the village, which I don't believe there is, unpaid taxes, unpaid water bill. Otherwise, the village has no ability to restrict the use of the property other than through its zoning ordinances, which I believe are already applied.
So our zoning ordinance currently is industrial. Is there
It
anything
is.
we can tap it down to? The reason why I'm mentioning this, because right now we currently have our weed out at Powell Road. And if that place closes, then it's an open invitation for anybody who wants to open up weed business.
Well,
So-
the village council could rezone the property. Typically, you receive input from the planning commission about rezoning, but you have control of the zoning. But any use that exists, when you rezone it, would be grandfathered in. That use would be allowed to continue. So you can't choose, you can choose a use, but you can't choose an occupant.
Okay, so if it's occupied with an industrial use, then that's fine, that's grandfathered in. But
would
anything
be.
else other than that, per our rezoning the property,
Well-
we can control what goes in there.
Well, yes, I'm not sure I understand the question, but if somebody wants to provide an industrial use there,
That's great.
that would be permitted. They would have to submit site plans,
Correct.
and they'd have to go through those proper procedures. If you saw somebody out there building a house on the property, that would be problematic, because you would then have a residential use in industrial area not permitted. So again, you can choose the use, you can legislate the use, you can't choose the occupant.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anybody else from the public that wanted to address?
Wondered, was the residents of Romeo informed of these rallies?
So the rallies, we put out flyers in every single possible business that would let us. So from gas stations to restaurants to anywhere that we could think of, the UPS stores, the pizza places, every single place we put out flyers, every gas station in the area, every restaurant. So, I mean,
Were notified like by the village?
I do know that there was people, and I didn't personally invite them, so I don't want to say, there was people that were on this board that were invited.
But we were notified, the residents were notified from the board or the people?
I'm guessing no. Right. I'm guessing no. From the plant's perspective, when we held our rallies, we organized and let every single business owner in the small community and basically in the village, and even like to Romeo Plank and even to North Avenue, those gas stations are in that area. And you know, we put things on Facebook. We let the local police departments know, the state police, because, you know, where it's a peaceful protest, it's nothing that's going to get out of hand. But we did our due diligence as far as invitations. They went out to multiple politicians in the area. Some chose to show up, some chose not to.
It just seems like that's something that people should have known about and would be involved in it, as compared to like small festivities in the village or whatever. It just seems like that's something that's a big
I couldn't agree with you more. I can't change what hasn't been done, you know, and unfortunately, for me, I don't live in the village, and for me to get the communications out, Facebook, advertisements in local communities, word of mouth, that's basically, you know, and obviously, people were invited, so. All right?
Especially to be there 22 years and live here and see no support. Yes, it's sad, because I work here. So yes, 22 years.
It just seems like I think a
No
lot of
support.
people would have supported that
None.
if they would have known. I
No,
just-
not
It
one.
breaks my heart. My brother took
Not
early
one.
retirement from there, but I knew nothing of the different rallies. I would have been there in a heartbeat.
Yeah, not
And the
one.
last one, it was, I was led to believe that it was an invitation only.
No.
event.
No.
So this is really a sin.
As a matter of fact, it's similar to a strike where we make sure that we're on the right of way so that we're not obstructing Ford Motor Company and not on their personal property, right? So it's a public
Does
event.
anybody from the board on that go to these rallies?
I was invited to the last one by Mr. Randazzo, yeah.
Anybody else?
I attended last year. I attended last year when I was personally invited. I think it was August.
Correct.
And then I did come back to this board and make a statement and even spoke to the cameras asking Ford, beseeching them, please don't do this to our families, a year ago. I did not know about this current one.
Right,
It just
thank
seems
you.
sad that
You know,
people didn't hear about this till it's after.
like I said, yes, strong, and I love Local 228 for that. Thank you very much. You guys have great leaders there.
We have many of us in the Romeo community.
Yes, and honestly,
People knew, but no, nobody got notified.
well, again, it's one of those things.
Not your problem.
No, I know, but it's one of those things that sometimes we have to engage our neighbors, right, and talk to our neighbors, and that's what community really is. You know, we're supposed to be, not nosy, but know what's going on in our own community and in our families, right? I can't speak to this neighborhood.
All types of stuff that's put out for like Winterfest and Halloween stuff, and it just seems like
So-
this is something that would be more important than just a holiday festival.
Agreed.
They are all important.
They are.
But
when you
people
got
need to
something
know,
else
this is a
that
lot of
is-
families that are
Yes,
involved
it
in
does.
it.
Yeah, oh, you're 110% right, but again, we put them in literally every single business in this community. So I guarantee you, somebody's walked past them in the stores, and sometimes we're in a hurry, right? So we just go right straight to the cash register or get what we gotta get, but they were literally at every cash register, at every gas station in the area, most businesses in the area. So, as far as restaurants and things of that nature where there's a lot of public, right? So, yes, sir.
How often does Ford close a plant like this, and what's the likelihood that they reopen a plant? And does that not happen?
Well, I will say this, during the 2019 contractual bargaining, that was the only plant that got closed. Out of the 60-some plants that they have in the United States, we were the only plant slated to close. Typically, when a plant closes, if it does reopen, it's 10, 12, 13 years down the road, 15 years down the road. So it's not like it just reopens next year.
Chesterfield trim closed down?
Chesterfield trim closed, Utica trim closed, Mount Clemens trim closed, all on the east side of Michigan, right? In our own backyard. Sterling Axle's still working. Downturn, yeah. But they're actually they're thriving right now. And that's back to his plant right there that he was talking about. And that's because he's got great leadership at his plant. Quite honestly, his UEW leadership down there is lights out. They're from their president all the way down to their committee people and their appointed people. They've supported us at every step of the way. They've come to every single thing that we've asked them to in droves.
What other things tangibly can residents do to make Ford change their mind?
Well, I think it's like anything in your community. I think you need to write your politicians, speak your mind. And we got to hold politicians accountable, right? Because there was a lot of politicians that came to our rally in August that, oh, we got you, right? We're coming. We're going to help you save. And still looking for them, right? Still looking. So that's one thing we got to do is we got to make sure our voices are heard at the ballot box, right? Make sure that after we vote for those people, we hold them accountable, right? Don't just say what you want us to hear so we vote for you. You know, that's the key. You know, we get complacent in things, and some people don't like to be confrontational, but it's not. These politicians work for us, right? And those people need to be held accountable because their tax revenue's gone. Those jobs, guess where they're going? We've been tearing machinery out of that building for the last year and a half. Guess where it's all going? Ohio. It's another state. It's not even like it's, the work is staying in Michigan. That work is gone to another state. To me, that's just outlandish, stupid.
Does anyone else want to get up?
The benefits of having a bike path instead of the railroad track.
Well, yeah, that's to some point, sure. But, in today's world, with all the shipping restraints, I'm not sure that was the sole factor, right? There's a lot of facilities that are out there that do not have railway.
A lot of reasons.
Yeah. And Romeo Engine, quite honestly, has been the benchmark for Ford Motor Company and engine programs forever, right? We have people that get toured across the entire world to come see our process. Doesn't matter to them. They choose profit over people, time and time again. And it affects our communities, right? So if we don't stand up and make noise, right, the proverbial squeaky wheel gets the grease, that's the stuff that has to happen. We have to let our politicians know. I don't want to take all of your meeting, but it is passionate to me. I'm here on my own time, obviously, not my community, but it is my community. I've worked here for 25 years, day in and day out, 6-7 days a week. And it's hurtful to me because this is such a great environment to see what I believe is going to happen to this community.
Thank you for your
Thank you for
concern.
coming.
Thank you.
One comment, I just think last, 2 years,
Can she go to the podium?
I've read things online, I've read things in the newspaper, I've heard things from this board, and everything's been, no, don't panic. It's not closing, it's not happening, it's not gonna nothing, we're all secure, it's good. I think that's just,
Disheartening.
it is disheartening.
And that's why I'm here, because I had,
It's been put out for us all to believe, so it's that, and as far as the rallies, I knew 3 days after the rally that there was a rally. So
Understood.
At that point, you can't do anything about that.
Understood.
because-
But again, there was multiple messages sent to a lot of different people, and whatever. I can't change the past. I do know that the rallies were, they were successful in the fact that we showed that we're not just gonna roll over, but still unsuccessful because we're still closing. And that is the reason I'm here, exactly what you said, all of the misinformation. I can't tell you the amount of people that sent me the videos and the audio from your last month meeting, and I said, well, I can't sleep if I know that these people don't know the truth, right?
Did our governor come to the rallies?
Our governor did not come to the rallies. You're welcome.
Was the county executive or JP Ray at the rally?
They were both there. And like I said, JP and Mark were both there and have been there since day one. They have probably been the most engaged out of any politician in our community.
Did they promote your rallies on their social media site?
That's a good question. I don't know that answer. I don't go on their social media, quite honestly. I'm not that familiar with if they even own a social media platform. But I do know that they've shown up at everything we've ever asked them to. They've been in countless meetings with us in the building, with Ford Motor Company executives. And again, I believe JP said exactly what he was told and believed to be true, right? I don't think he was misleading at all, because I know John very well, and that's
The
not.
same might be true of this board. What they were told, they were also saying similar things.
Very could be. I'm not sure, but I just know that I wanted to tell everybody that I'm the UAW chairperson there, and I know for a fact that after December 23rd, we will have 300 less employees in that building, 400 less employees in that building.
Perfect. Thank you. Is there anybody else who wanted to speak under public comment? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I'm the squeaky wheel. Belinda Weeder. I live at 130 Tilson Street. And I'm here to talk about Halloween on Tilson Street again. Tilson Street is residential, not commercial. This past Halloween, we were inundated by commercial advertising, Dispo, Masonic Haunted House, and even an up-and-coming coffee shop. How can area businesses use a residential street to promote commercial endeavors without any discussion with all of the homeowners? In the past, decisions that affected the entire street, like closing for trick-or-treating or the annual block party, required the permission of every homeowner by their signature on a document and then submitted to the village clerk. How do I know this? Well, I was responsible for gathering the signatures. Everyone had to be in agreement or it did not happen. I wonder how it came to be that we are forced to endure 31 days of Halloween, excitedly promoted by a host of area businesses and some Tilson Street residents, but yet no discussion with all the Tilson Street homeowners to get their permission ever occurred. Just don't decorate. If you don't like it, move, are just a couple responses I have been given by a neighbor and a Romeo police officer. This is offensive, it's childish, and does nothing to solve the issue. As I mentioned a year ago at a meeting of this body, my concern as a 35-year resident and taxpayer is safety. Fire safety, police safety, crowd control, property safety, to name a few. Even though we were told the police were specifically assigned to be present on Tilson Street the last half of October, some residents still experienced some issues. How can we be expected to deal with thousands of visitors on a nightly basis for 31 days when we feel the support from the village is minimal? Again, I am pleading with the village to do more than just the bare minimum. Lack of ordinances is no reason to allow this situation to continue unchecked. We need to resolve this issue of having 31 days of Halloween on Tilson Street and promoted by area businesses. Having this monthly event is not something shared by all homeowners. Let's be proactive before something happens that we will all regret. Thank you.
Thank you. Clark?
My name's Clark Stow, and I live at 380 Brook, and I'm a proud new Romeo resident. I just wanted to make a couple of observations. I've only been coming to 2 or 3 meetings, and I've got some constructive comments I'd like to make. I'd like to follow up on what was talked about on the Ford Motor Company property. This board has an agenda they put out every month, and there's an area in there called unfinished business. Since I've come here, I've been surprised at every meeting with new ideas that aren't even on unfinished business. The Ford plant, it happened 2 years ago. That should be on unfinished business until it's done. The village, going from the village to a city, that was approved by the board 2 years ago, but it hasn't been consummated. Things that get approved by the community or should be started should remain on unfinished business until they're completed. So there is a sense that it has to be talked about every month. And if this Ford project had been on here for 2 years, you'd have had to talk about it every month. So maybe a committee should have been formed, something been done, you should have been proactive in doing things. I'm just saying there's a lot of things that come up that aren't on unfinished business. New taxes, that should be on a new item that just got approved. That should be on here until that project gets done. Because I brought up a comment at a meeting ago and asked, when's my street going to get paved? And nobody could answer and said until after it gets approved, then we'll tell you if it's going to get paved. It should remain on unfinished business until it's done. The park that we've been talking about over here, that's been going on for 2 years. It's not on unfinished business. It's still not done. It should be on unfinished business until it's done. You had the treasurer come up in September and talk about expense reports. At the last board meeting, it was postponed to be brought up again on this meeting. It's not on unfinished business. If you read your October minutes, the board member said, let's, pass it off until next month. Why isn't it on unfinished business? That leads me to the comments that the treasurer made in September and also in October about the expense report and not getting processed. I did a little homework and dug up an old expense report procedure that's pretty weak. And it should be looked at. And one of her comments was brought up that she doesn't get to look at them or something to that effect. And I don't want to go into all that detail, but the clerk said that she's only responsible for outgoing money and the treasurer is responsible for incoming money. Your legal counsel here brought up a statute that said that's not true. In all the 40 years I've been in business and in finance, the treasurer of any company, and I've run a couple, I used to be working for an M&A for a venture capitalist and bought several companies and ran them for a while. The treasurer of any company has always been allowed to see any document that has to do with money, and there should be no questions asked. So I'm proposing that this board take a look at the job descriptions for the clerk and the treasurer and clarify that the treasurer should be able to see any document that has to do with money. And maybe that procedure should be rewritten to that effect. It's a small thing, but in all the activities I've been involved in, whenever there's not checks and balances in terms of expense reports, there's always a hole that gets filled up with somebody confiscating money and stuff. And I'm not alluding to the fact that it's going to happen here, but you got to have, when you deal with money, you got to have pretty tight procedures. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Anybody else for public comment? All right, hearing none, I'm going to close that portion and go into our officer reports. Treasurer Maddox, did you want to start with your officer report?
Yes.
Thank you, Clark, for bringing that to the incoming board's attention to continue to hold the focus in on the credit card and the expenditures. October 21st, I balanced with Macomb County in the amount of $2,580,631.57. Delinquent, $167,711.34. I did receive the final approval from the county October 26th that I balanced, and so therefore there are no outstanding invoices or cash receipting issues that should come across as I've balanced. I provided training for Caroline, and she's set up with her own login and credentials, and therefore she should be able to, once the election is certified, be able to competently take on the position role as treasurer. I sent the reports to Benzinski, which is our financial auditors, in their regards to all the reports that the treasurer is responsible for providing. And just a note to the board is that the pending audited financial statements to Benzinski is still required, and please be mindful of the due date in December, as we had an issue with last year. We were given one strike, and that was last year because our financial statements were not provided on time. I've sent all the reports to Macomb County on the forfeiture properties, and so therefore you as the incoming board should have notification, and I've shared that information with Caroline for her to oversee. And as I have gone through my closing of my books, it goes back to November of 2018 when I took an oath of office. And I took a pledge to serve you residents and business owners to the best of my ability. And with that regards, as I've gone through all of my job functions and responsibilities and make sure that there are no unreconciled items out there or any issues that I needed to make the board aware of, if I come across several concerns, and I'm going to share one of those concerns with you at this moment in time. And it pertains to our video service agreement that was approved by the board on June 30th of this year. Now, based on that video service agreement that President Malzahn pushed forward and you board members approved, this is a 5-year contract, and going back to when I originally took office back in November 2018, I requested this documentation from the MIT TV contractor and did refuse to sign a check for payment, and that was due to supporting documentations that needed to be complied to based on the agreement set forth. And so I bring that back to the board so that, as you're aware of, is that it is reflected in the vendor statement report to sign the check, which I want to make it loud and clear, is that I will not be signing the payroll check for the MIT TV provider. And these are the reasons that I state forth. A, workers' compensation insurance. B, commercial general liability insurance. C, motor vehicle liability. D, additional insurance. E, cancellation on any notice of any policies that may have been set forth in transfer of ownership. F, proof of insurance coverage, and those are stipulated with segments A through D that's outlined in the MIT TV contract. G, coverage expiration. And H, cable cast on Comcast, WOW, and AT&T. Now, I personally am a Comcast subscriber, and therefore I pay a significant amount to be able to sit at the convenience of my home and watch meetings and watch programs on local station. And so therefore, I'm saying to you as board members is to hold the vendor accountable and put this information out on our meeting so that we can be able to view it with Comcast, AT&T, or any other communication. I know I've heard a lot of you board members push back to me about how you can use these, sticks and all this. I'm a Comcast provider. I want to be able to watch the meetings on Comcast. And so therefore, I'm pushing it back to you as board members and making you aware that I will, and until this documentation is provided into the village hall and the new president taking control of the office, is that you exercise your authority and hold the vendor accountable and obtain the necessary documentations. And this should be expected from any of the vendors that we spend money to, especially considering that particular vendor is one of the highest paid persons on our payroll. And it's ludicrous that we're not holding that vendor accountable. Also, I just want to make you aware is that I did provide Caroline with a complete list of her responsibilities and an outline of all the job descriptions. And over the past year and a half, she's exercised her authority to learn as much as possible for the incoming year, and I wish her the very best and all the staff. And that concludes my report, unless there's any questions that any one of you may have at the board table for me. Thank you. It's been an honor to serve you residents and the business owners.
Thank you,
Sherry. Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you for your time and dedication.
Clerk Trapp, do you have a clerk's report?
Yes. First, I would like to say thank you to all the voters that reelected me to another term as your village clerk. I am very honored to continue in this office. I would also like to thank exiting President Christine Malzahn for the last 4 years. It was an honor and a privilege to work with you. The village has really grown and prospered under your leadership, so thank you. And welcome to all the new electeds from the November 8th election. This past Thursday, I attended the SEMCOG Transportation Council meeting in Detroit. A list of upcoming traffic reports, traffic projects in the Tri-County area was provided, and Romeo's not on any of them, so we don't have any road closures coming up. And also on Thursday, I did chair the Macomb County Clerks Association meeting. There was a lot of discussion on this past election. And also, there will be a new software update coming to the Register of Deeds to make searching for items through the Register of Deeds a lot easier. And that's all I have for this month.
Excellent, thank you. Megan, did you have a report you wanted to give?
Just to thank you, President Malzahn, Treasurer Maddox, Trustee Hart, who's not here, thank you for your time, your dedication. I've been jumping in, attending what I can. I've sat down with Christine. We've gone over things. She's got me up to speed, gotten me passwords and everything I need. So when the time comes, I can jump in as best that I can, and that is that.
Thank you. Trustee Bartholomew? Mr. Edwards?
Just like to say thank you for the voters, to the voters, and thank you to Christine. Been wonderful serving with you. So really appreciate all that you've done for this village.
Thank you, appreciate that very
So,
much.
thank you, and thank you to Mr. Hart. That's all I have.
Excellent.
Thank you.
No
Zach,
trustee-
anything?
No trustee report?
Any ex officio report from planning?
Nope, nothing, no. A couple things, just like to invite everyone to the Romeo Masonic Lodge this Thursday for the annual free community Thanksgiving meal. Sit down is from 12 to 3. If anyone's in need of a delivery, you can contact James through Wendy's at 586-785-7590. It's a great event. We hope to see many people there. And then also, I'd like to congratulate the Elma Scots on their first NCAA championship football win this past weekend. The reason I bring it up is, I'm going to quote Jeff Hinkle, the announcer for the Romeo Bulldogs. There's a plethora of Bulldogs that are on the Elma crew. We got Coach Jason Couch, Nathan Goralski, who's a senior up there, and then some freshmen, Lucas Manello, Caleb Youngblood, and Cameron Cole. Almost forgot his last name. Yep, they were playing again this Saturday, but yeah, it was kind of exciting to see them win their first NCAA championship game up there. So go Bulldogs, go Scots.
Justin? I'm sorry, what's their mascot?
Scots?
Scots, okay.
Yeah. It's like a Scottish person.
Gotcha.
It's fun to watch the games. Jason wears kilt up there, and it's quite entertaining. What's that? It's an NCAA championship. It's probably off. Yeah. Yeah.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, excellent. My president's report for November 21st. Let me begin first with a few construction updates. The 14-space Church Street parking lot project is now completed. Woohoo! Just in time for the holiday shopping season and tree lighting festivities. EarthCon Excavating did an excellent job with the construction of this project. Hats off to Les Young, who did the masonry work. The capstones are the perfect finishing touch. So feel free to park when you pull up there by Church Street and Rawls, and go to the post office, the library, or walk to the Village Park. Another amazing project nearing completion is the 32-mile road sidewalk extension. The sidewalk is officially open to pedestrians. Now our students have a safe walking route to the middle school campus on the south side of the road, not to mention that our pedestrians and bicyclists can now get from Copperwood Commons all the way down to downtown or the Macomb Orchard Trail on this gorgeous new sidewalk. Still working on the rest of St. Clair, but the new portion is fabulous. I spoke with project manager Mike McDonald from Hubble, Roth & Clark last week and was surprised to learn that the light poles will be installed this week, not next spring as we were anticipating. So they did arrive early, and that should be, work should be completed by the end of this week. Village Park progress update. The walkways have been cut out, limestone spread out as the base for the concrete walkways with the restored brick pathway as a border for them. Moving along at record pace to have the park Phase 1 ready for Santa's arrival on December 1st. Again, thanks to Les Young, who is our expert mason on this project. He found the concrete needed, even though there's a shortage out there. We had to make some changes to the brick pattern to accommodate the difference, shortage in concrete, a little more brick paver, which will make the dance floor even more beautiful in the long run. The pedestrian crosswalk project has two small checklist items left. One is the caulking, and then the other is the asphalt leveling fill on the corner of Washington and Lafayette Street. I'm sorry, Washington and Main Street, that is. Regarding the area in front of the Masonic Temple, Rowe Engineering has offered a $5,000 credit to be used for whatever installation is agreed upon next spring to address the large step area. I would also like to address the large crack in the asphalt that is near the corner of Newberry and Main that was referenced by trustee Parker in his recent letter to the editor claiming that the project was failed. The crosswalk project was never intended, and the work was never included to include repairs to the failing existing asphalt. Van Dyke and 32 Mile Road, known as Main and St. Clair, are Macomb County roads, not Romeo's responsibility. Repairs to that section of the road and other notable crevices would fall under their jurisdiction, and the county would incur the cost of repairing that infrastructure. Rowe Engineering and I inquired with the Road Commission about the failing surface areas and requested them to consider at least fixing those areas of concern where our project was going to be installed. We were told that nowhere within their foreseeable future plans would they be addressing those two roads. The red surface treatment is not and was not intended to fill the crack, and it is not failing in its application. It is unfortunate that the red epoxy does make the crack more noticeable, however. At any one of the on-site meetings, if you had chosen to attend, Trustee Parker, you would have heard firsthand discussion about these areas and the overall project. You would have been able to ask your questions directly to the contractors, the Macomb County Department of Roads, their on-site inspector, the on-site engineering inspector, and thus been able to provide accurate account of what happened and why the crack is there. I hope that satisfies your questions. I am very pleased, on another note, to announce L&L Products has chosen to expand their facility here in Romeo. L&L President Tom Kleinow and his staff reached out to me in February of 2022 as they were researching expansion opportunities in one of two locations, Romeo and South Carolina. Upon hearing that they were weighing the pros and cons and looking for the highest incentive package in their decision-making, I engaged John Paul Rea and his MEDC team, determined to not let this opportunity escape Macomb County or the Village of Romeo. All of us worked together with our state legislators and the utility companies to offer L&L every incentive to stay right here in Romeo. This investment of $11 million right here in our community is a huge victory, and I could not be prouder to have played a part in making it happen. Mark your calendars for these upcoming Romeo events. Do not miss Romeo's annual Santa Parade and tree lighting, Thursday, December 1st at 7 p.m. The parade route is along Main Street from Washington to Newberry and into Village Park. Don't miss the Romeo Historical Society's home tour. It's coming up on December 3rd from 1 to 7. Tickets are available at many of our downtown businesses. And the Romeo Chamber of Commerce Emma Awards are Friday, December 9th at 5:30. This is the 20th anniversary of these prestigious awards. This year, they have a theme, the Roaring Twenties, so get out your favorite flapper dress and Gatsby suits, grab a ticket, and enjoy a fun-filled evening of food, drink, and awards. And lastly, I want to thank every one of you for the opportunity to have served you over the last 10 years. As your president during the last 4 years, it was my true privilege to work for you every day, bringing much-needed financial stability, growth opportunities, and investment in projects to completion. My goal on day one was to leave Romeo better from my leadership. And I can honestly say that on day 1,462, that goal is complete. I need only look out my window and walk down the street to see the success. While of course I am disappointed that my service here in Romeo is over, I am very excited at the new opportunities that are already presenting themselves and to see where God leads me next. I wish my successor congratulations and good luck during her tenure, as well as all of the other elected officials, and appreciate and look forward to seeing what you bring to this office. I'm grateful for all the acknowledgement and messages of thanks that I have received in recognition for my efforts on your behalf. And I leave you with this quote from American author, salesman, and motivational speaker, Zig Ziglar. Success means doing the best that we can with what we have. Success is doing, not the getting, in the trying, not the triumph. Success is a personal standard, reaching for the highest that is in us and becoming all that we can be. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. Committee reports are, we have no committee reports at this time, although, Megan, did you want to talk about the Bruce Township Sewer Committee?
We can mention it. So I attended, along with Trustee Parker and Mr. Clark, attended the Bruce Township meeting last week where they did bring up their interest still in the sewer. We have just dissolved our subcommittee and not hearing from them for a while. Apparently, if I'm getting it right, if I remember correctly, it was first a distaste to what they read, and then also just election season and busy, so they didn't get back to us. But now that things have settled down, they would like to, what it sounded like, negotiate. So I said I would bring that back to this board, that this is the board's decision to say, do we want to jump back into negotiating with Bruce and helping them with their issue? And that was about it. We can get it on next month's meeting and talk about if we want to resurrect our subcommittee and that sort of thing.
Okay, thank you for that update. Number 10, new business, we have the DDA special event permit, which is for Winterfest. So the Downtown Development Authority is actively planning for their second annual Winterfest event. The 2023 event is scheduled to take place on February 4th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. The events committee are organizing the snowman contest, chili cook-off, horse-drawn wagon rides, kids crafts, traveling entertainment, warming stations, demonstrations, and an all-new 5K fun run. Specific street closing locations are yet to be determined. I don't know if you want to address that fun run, Elizabeth.
I promise I won't be long-winded tonight. Yes, so we are coming before you realizing that we have been presented with this wonderful opportunity by the Romeo Community Schools cross country and their track team, Coach Mike Buslip. Two of my kids were his students, but they have not participated in the Wolcott Mill was their big fundraiser. They did a run out there, and they have not done that since 2019, and so their funding has dried up for what they're used to getting their funding for. So I presented the idea at Career Day, what about a 5K run in downtown Romeo, and he's like, love it. So we met last week. The police chief was off last week, so we haven't had a chance to go over the route with him. This is a preliminary route, but due to the Thanksgiving schedule, the Christmas schedule that's coming up very soon, he wanted to be able to get a preliminary approval for that as part of the event to get that. And so, of course, we will go through all the proper road closures and whatnot with the police chief, with the fire chief, and with the village staff as well. So there's probably going to be like a little snowman dash for the younger kids is another idea. And in his email to me, and he was sorry he couldn't be here tonight, he said he would be happy to come and present. He will be at the DDA meeting to talk about the fine details of it, but he'd be happy to come in December to go over that. To my knowledge, a 5K has never run through downtown Romeo or on any of our pedestrian streets. Other than the finish up on Morton Street for the Peach Festival run that comes that way. But this is a phenomenal opportunity for Romeo. And he said, I hope this is something we can do for many years to come and possibly even this summer as well. So there's a possibility. He estimates they'll probably have us anywhere from 200 to 400 registrants the first year. So the revenue prospects is pretty huge. And for those of you who saw it, this is kind of our little mascot for Winterfest. He'll be decorated up. He'll probably get a little update this year, should it be. But we've moved it to the first Saturday of February is our goal to have that. And the events calendar, I'm looking to have that approved by my board in 2 weeks. So this will be the first event. So any questions?
So the map for the 5K run is the last page of your board packet, sort of zigzags throughout. Again, that's just tentative. But still looking for a motion to approve at least the date, the special events permit, and with the note that it will include a 5K run and bring back that route just for street closure approval if needed.
So we would come back to you in December.
And then table the remaining until we've got the exact route. And then also the other thing I saw in here was under the outline and timeline, there's a list of things, but it says included but not limited to. So I'd like to know what else would be part of that? You know, what else are we
Sure.
looking at? What else do we got to consider before we give a full approval?
Sure, Justin, so that's a great question, so thank you for asking that. What we're looking to get approved is what's been presented in front of you, and then additional items would be presented at the December meeting once our board approves the rest of the events calendar as well.
What Elizabeth told me was that the 5K pre-planning and strategy is going to take some time. And so really, she wanted to get it on the agenda for tonight with the approval, at least of having the 5K fun run, so that they could officially begin that process without, knowing that we've ever done this before, taking a vote to see, is that something that you are interested in entertaining as part of this event or not?
So it's an events, it's an events company that has to schedule this, and it's quite lengthy process of how they do that.
Yeah.
And
So
and
I'd make a motion to approve the date and the run, and then with the exception of tabling the rest until we have all the details, because I don't want to approve something that is not in its entirety.
I have a question after that. Have you talked to the county as far as using the trail instead of blocking off our streets?
Well, the idea is because the Downtown Development Authority is about the economic growth and development of the downtown, so by having it in town, we help with that. But to that point, Zach, the trails do not get cleared in the wintertime. So you have ice and snow and whatnot, so those areas aren't cleared, so it wouldn't be safe for the
I'm
runners.
just thinking about the inconvenience of some of the residents having to go around this stuff, especially during the winter.
Well, the 5K run, it's not an all-day thing, hopefully, unless
No.
I'm running it. But,
No.
in which case, it might take me, 8 hours to walk 5 miles, I don't know, 3 miles.
It can happen as early as 8 a.m., that they've done
Yes.
winter runs as early as
Yes.
8 a.m., and it's done in about an hour and a half.
Yes, so,
So I'd like
I
to make.
think we have a motion by Justin, Justin made a motion, we didn't have a support yet.
I'll have support.
Okay.
And it doesn't look like it involves 32, that 32 are crossroad. It
Correct.
just looks like North Main. So we would still have some major crossroads open.
Yeah, could I speak to that for a second? We were very careful to make sure that everything stayed north of, so we weren't crossing over 32 Mile. We don't want runners on 32 West St. Clair, East St. Clair. That was pretty important. And we wanted to also utilize, if possible, the part of the Bruce Township Park as well. So we'll work through those details. And again, he apologizes for not being able to be here tonight, but he will be happy to come to the next Village Council meeting and also the DDA meeting. And if I may ask, the items that are included, I would ask that some of those items could possibly be approved tonight as well, because the family that owns the horse-drawn wagon rides and the chamber, and a few of those other, those are all things that have to be planned ahead of time, and if we don't have waiting until the third week of December, that's really pushing it close, that's like 5 weeks from D-Day, if you will. So, and those are people's livelihoods that are looking for some secured funds, so.
My only concern with that, Elizabeth, is that hasn't been talked about at the DDA level and approved by that committee yet. So that's my hesitation there.
We've, as you know, because you were at our event planning meeting on Thursday night, it's been talked about at several committee meetings. It's been talked about the last 2 board meetings as well. So, but I hear you.
If you say so.
So it hasn't been discussed at DDA?
Or approved?
Hasn't been approved, it's been discussed.
Yes.
Well, as a person that's new to Romeo, I attended Winterfest last year, and it was amazing. So I hope the board will approve it. I mean, it was so fun. So thank you.
And I'd like to make a comment on the race. Excuse me. I used to run the Peach Festival race a lot, and this is going to be a lot easier to run than the Peach Fest. That's a tough race. And over the years, the residents would actually line the roads. They enjoyed it. They would sit out there and they would clap, they would cheer the people on. So I think, being that it's going to be an annual thing, I think there will be a lot of people that will appreciate it as well.
Thank you. I was one of those runners this year for the first time, and so I appreciated those. And I was made aware that apparently they've never done a permit for the Peach 5K. They've never done a permit for that, for on Morton Street. with the road closed off, I was surprised by that, because I said, what's been the process for that? And I was told they've never pulled a permit. So we're trying to do everything right by coming, before you and so forth, so,
Well, I used
thank
to run
you.
the Peach Fest as a kid too. That's probably, it goes back so far. I think it's just never been really looked at, so.
So can you clarify your motion, Justin, just to be
Yeah.
certain? Because I'm not sure, you said, I don't know if you want to take off the, but not limited to, and just approve the bulleted points here? But
I guess now-
anything in addition to that would have to come back, is that what you're asking?
I would, after hearing what, I didn't know this wasn't approved by the DDA at this time. So if that's where the funditure is gonna be coming from,
Well,
I
they
mean,
can always cancel
like
it
I
if
said,
they-
I would stick with a motion to approve the date of the event and the tentative 5K map. But anything else, I think would still need board approval after we know that the DDA has approved the funding.
Well, again, the DDA can, I mean, the event can be canceled if it's not approved or funded properly. Their meeting is December 4th?
Fifth.
5th?
December 5th.
Right, so again, they're gonna have a lot more time to hit the ground running. So, but if that's your motion, to not include any of the bullet points, but just for the date and the 5K run?
I think that's what she asked for, to at least prove the date and then the run. I don't see any problem with having a 5K. Just need to approve the finalized route.
And by the way, the 5K cost nothing. The wagon rides cost nothing, because that's completely funded by the people paying for that. The snowman building costs nothing. The kids' crafts cost nothing.
That's what he's hesitant about.
So why does they have an album together?
Couldn't it be pending DDA board approval? But it's your, never mind.
It's
Thank you.
Justin's motion,
It-
so,
it's true.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, we had a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Okay. All right, we can move on to 10B, the radar signs approval or purchase approval. Discussion and feedback from our residents at our last month's meeting regarding the Sisson Street signal light indicated a speed warning signal may be useful to bring awareness to vehicles as they enter village limits. It was requested that proposals be brought forward to the Board of Trustees for consideration. Chief Dan Sokolnicki did just that in your packet. You have three proposals. Radar sign is for $7,688 for 2 units. All traffic solutions, $7,390 for 2 units. And Evolis was $6,499 for 2 units. This sign, if anybody does drive in the vicinity of Rochester Road in the village of Leonard, by the fire department, that's the sign particular that is supplied by that company. So Chief Dan has proposed and suggested that we purchase 2 illuminated radar speed signs from Evolis in the amount of $6,499.
I make a motion to approve 6,499.
I'll second. I do have a question.
Okay.
I also need a resolution stating that this is an agreement, because I have to get a permit from Macomb County in order to put it on one of their roads, which would be St. Clair. I haven't decided where to put the second one yet, but I was thinking probably on Main Street, where it turns to 30 miles an hour. And originally, my thought is to put the first sign on St. Clair near First Street coming down the hill.
Yeah, it's a good spot.
Okay.
Okay. These are solar signs, battery operated. DPW would put them up. I talked to Tim already. We hold all responsibility for them, but I do have to, because it's the county right away, I have to have a motion that you're in agreement with this, and I got to get a permit for them before we can put them up.
Should we be concerned at all that this permit wouldn't be approved in lieu of us spending the money first, or should the other, should we
I would
ask the permit first and then purchase, or which way?
I would get the permit first, but I need everybody to agree, or majority of you to agree to purchasing these in order to apply for the permit, and where, an agreement of where we're gonna put them so that I can put it on the permit.
My front yard.
Your front yard? So somebody's not gonna want it in their front yard. They blink.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Is there a way, I've seen these, right, to put some type of shield on the resident side so it doesn't become a nuisance to, because everyone right there is gonna be residential.
You know, I've driven by, they got them in Oxford, they got them in, I've been by the one in Leonard, you know, they got them up in Capex, they've got them in Attica. I mean, they're all over the
And
place.
just put them in Elmont.
And they're nothing that shines that bright at night. The one that I did suggest does have a program that, a software that comes with it that gives me monitoring of what everybody's speed is when they're coming down the road, so that if somebody says, they're still speeding at 50, I can look back and say, well, no, everybody's doing 35. You know, it's a radar unit, you know, it does have a shut off, so anybody who's trying to, I'm gonna see how fast I can go, it won't let them do that. It'll only go to so high, and then it's not gonna register. It's all solar powered, I believe it's got a 2-year warranty. We can put it wherever it is right now, and then maybe 2 years from now, we could move it to a side street or something, or somewhere else that, you know, people are thinking that there's a problem.
Bailey Street, I got a lot of complaints from Bailey Street with
If
people
we put it
speeding
on
down
a side
there.
street like Bailey Street or something, I don't need a permit from the county. Only on 32 and on Main Street.
But we only want to leave them up on the main streets for a bit of time, otherwise people just start to look past them, right?
Yes, so if we
Once-
move them around,
Yes,
you know, I didn't want to buy the trailer's $25,000. We don't want that. And, you know, this is relatively cheap. It's the buy one, get one free, basically, you know, the two I was talking about. So,
Blue light special, right?
yeah, the blue light special. Yeah.
okay. So we have a motion by Fowler, we had support by Parker for the purchase, right? So let's do that motion first.
One other question.
Oh.
Will the sign have not just the, like, the slow down, but will it also have the thank you for when you're
The
obtaining
one
the
that I'm
speed limit?
proposing does have the messaging at the bottom, and it'll flash slow down or whatever. I think there's 3 different messages that you can put on it. When you're going too fast, it'll flash and say slow down. It'll change colors. And when you get to the desired speed limit or below it, it'll say, we can make it say thank you.
Like, if you're doing the speed limit, thank you, free coffee
Yeah.
at Main Treats?
Yeah, I don't know if I can put that much stuff on there.
If
Parker's
it's,
buying,
right,
maybe,
if
I don't
it's
know.
60, it can say report directly to 121 West St. Clair
Yeah.
and turn yourself in? Okay.
Yeah, something like that, yes, I like that.
Okay,
I do like the thank you.
any other questions regarding the purchase? If not, roll call. Fowler?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Poznanski?
Yes.
Bartholomew?
Yes.
Edwards?
Yes.
President Malzahn?
Yes. All right, and now we
Motion
need a
carries.
motion for the installation locations. Is that
Second that.
for the permit, right?
All right, I'll second it. Your motion.
First Street and St. Clair at or near First Street, eastbound, so coming down the hill. And then I would say probably northbound Main near Washington.
Why don't you just say all of that? All of it.
Somewhere by.
Within the village
Yeah.
limits.
Because that's the 2 most complaints that I've heard of.
Once we get the permit from the county and they're installed, do we need to get another permit to move them to another county location?
I would have
Or-
to get another permit to
Okay.
change the location
So
of
you
it.
could bring that back, or we
Yes.
could move it to a residential street and then, as council works, to
Yes.
bring it back if they're gonna be on the
Or
county
it's a
roads.
ongoing permit, it stays there as long as we want it to stay there.
Could
We
they
just
give
have
you a
to,
blanket permit for
Yeah.
a year for the county roads?
just for that location, yeah. It's like like a
Okay, so-
parade permit that I gotta fill in for all the different events. You know, it's for that location at a certain,
So you need a motion.
I'm gonna
that-
make a motion to do 2 install locations, eastbound St. Clair at First Street and northbound Main Street at Washington.
Jamie?
Okay, so we had a motion by Malzahn, we had support by Fowler. Yes.
Can I ask this body to consider moving the eastbound one down a little bit further closer to Main Street? I live essentially at Fremont and 32, and I'm at the bottom of a very long hill where the hill starts by the old high school, the now middle school. And the gravel trains, all the haulers, everything, by the time they hit in front of my house, they're going about 50 and 60. My neighbors who have kids, they won't even let their kids out in the front yard because of the danger that is present with these guys just zooming down. I mean, God forbid a kid gets smoked. That's the only way. I know my neighbors have complained, because we've been told that it is a county road, so we have complained to the county, and we've basically been told, unless someone gets killed, we're not gonna do anything.
Right.
And that's unfortunate, but like, I mean, I would even offer up my front yard. I don't care, the easement right in front of my house, I don't care if it looks ugly, I don't care. It's a big problem coming down there. I know my neighbor to my east used to have a couple of young officers in his driveway and radar during the peak times of traffic, but yeah, it's all hours of the day. By the time you hit the
The idea of having it at First Street is to slow them down before they get to your house.
Yes.
That's the pickup point, basically. If the light's cycling, we're hoping the light slows them down prior to that. When the light's not cycling, you're coming down the hill, we want them to slow down sooner than when they get to 32 Mile Road.
I get that.
Okay.
On that note, can you get that signal to work all the time or more of the time?
That was a discussion at last meeting.
Instead of spending $7,000 on signs.
Yeah, that was the discussion at the last meeting, and there was an estimate of about $80,000 to upgrade it. And they wouldn't do it without revamping the whole system.
I turned the file over to
I would like to see it work
President-elect
24/7.
Poznanski with.
Yes, it does, doesn't it?
Was that brought up and voted on to turn it down?
I'm sorry?
That 80,000 to fix the lights and stuff, was that brought up and discussed and voted, Kurt?
No, I was directed just to maybe seek buy-in from Todd Robinson from the school, because a lot of the input was that light benefited the school, as well as the light at Hollister, and possibly getting a third light over by Amanda Moore. And so there was no decision that was made, just to do a little more research, other than proceed with at least the radar signs as the first initial step, while we debated with the road commission on what they're going to do as far as the speed reduction.
So this was another unfinished business.
No, it's on.
Well, right, we're talking about the portion from that for the radar sign purchase. Belinda, do you have your comment?
I wanted to suggest that you talk to not only the school, but the two townships. They could split the cost, because I know they all helped with that loan at Tilson and 32, or Sisson.
Sisson and 32?
And that would bring
I'm
the
sure
cost
that President-elect Poznanski will take that back and, yep.
The good news is, Washington Township is paving 30 Mile Road from Mound to where it starts up as asphalt again, down by Westview. So they're not happy, the people on 30 Mile Road, but I think that will alleviate some of the traffic, or the truck traffic. That's probably why they're not happy, but I think some of the truck drivers would prefer to go down 30 Mile Road without all the extra lights and stuff to have to stop at. So it may be a good thing for us, just putting that out there.
Okay. So we had a motion on the floor by Malzahn, supported by Fowler, for the two install locations, First in St. Clair, Maine, and Washington. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And seeing Chief Sokolnicki reminds me that I should mention, this is No Shave November, which is why he has facial hair. So our police department every November participate in this program to raise funds to support Maggie's Wigs.
Maggie's Wigs for Kids.
Yes.
Any officer that wants to forego the shaving requirement has to make a donation. And every year, we turn that donation over to Maggie's Wigs for Kids and sponsor a child who has cancer or something, and gets them a wig. And if you go to our website, you'll see the one that we sponsored last year.
That's awesome.
And if you wish to donate, they'll be happy to
Yeah, you can always
accept
go
your
to their
contributions.
website, Maggie's
Yes.
Wigs for Kids. They're more than happy to take any kind of donations that you give them, and you can do it under our name.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thanks for pointing that out.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the Great Lakes Water Authority Industrial Water Users Contract. This is sort of a last-minute project that I was, well, it's not last minute. Let me read the background. So myself, Attorney Mark Clark, and Mike McDonald, Vice President of Hubbell Roth and Clark, have been in negotiations with Great Lakes Water Authority since March of 2022. GLWA and the Village of Romeo have a 30-year contract to provide water to the industrial portions of the village with 4-year openers. Usages, max flow, and peak day data was reviewed. Exceedances have been investigated and explained to the satisfaction of GLWA, as well as consideration of the Ford engine plant closure. After a final meeting held last Thursday, November 17th, Great Lakes Water Authority provided below potential charge scenarios using the currently offered values, and those values less 20%. These scenarios are subject to the following caveats. 1, charge scenarios provide relative potential impact to the fiscal year 2024 charges using the fiscal year 23 charge model. Great Lakes Water Authority is negotiating with all 85 wholesale water customers this year. They don't know how many customers will change their contract values and how those charge changes will impact the scenarios that they have provided to us. On the table on the second page, so they are offering charge 1 scenario, standard contract negotiation process. So a volume is 6,100 cubic feet for a volume per day. Max day is 0.374. Peak hour is 0.649. The annual revenue requirement is $278,200 with a cost variance of $8,700 or 3.2%. Scenario number 2 is 80% of the values resulting from standard contract negotiation processes to eliminate the transition to no Ford production. So again, the volume would stay the same at 6,100. The max day would decrease to 0.299. The peak hour would be 0.519, and the annual revenue requirement is $229,900, which is a savings to the village of $39,600 or 14.7%. Just as a point of reference, our current contract is $269,500. So I would go back and point out, when we began early negotiations, we had some exceedances that were caused by some sensor malfunctions out at the Ford engine plant. And the initial contract opener called for a $400,000, I believe that's the number that they threw out there, Mark, increase to our rates. So we would have been paying nearly $669,000 for water that is a pass-through from Great Lakes to our industrial users. But Tim and his staff did a great job of tracking down what that sensor was. We had to go through a bunch of other steps that you recall passing. We had to update our lawn irrigation ordinance. We had to send letters to all of our lawn irrigation companies restricting the hours of when they can do that. We also had to obtain a memorandum of understanding with the Ford engine plant or Ford land, as the case resulted in the end, that they understand if they have more sensors that go bad or as they remediate the property, what hours they can and cannot fill their fire suppression system. That's what the sensor was working for. So ultimately, this is good news. You have 2 scenarios. Mike McDonald from HRC feels comfortable in the numbers that if you do want to take the cost savings and go with scenario number 2, which is what he's recommending as a cost savings to the village, that this board continues to monitor growth and usage very closely. Because if we do get a new user that comes into that facility or another user on the system starts using a lot more water, then you're going to quickly exceed what our allotted capacity is, and that's going to spike your prices. So
Would we be able to look at that then, or is it every 4 years?
You have a 4-year opener, but they have given the caveat with the Ford land, with that site, that you can open the contract for a new user coming in there, because we have no idea how to predict who or what is going to be proposed there. So
But anything
they
else
do have
in
an
the
opener.
industrial site would not allow that to open?
I'm not aware of.
Well, you could ask, you can always ask based on a change in circumstances, but as Mrs. Malzahn said, the one of which Great Lakes Water Authority is aware is the change with respect to the use of the Ford property. So that one's baked into what's before you. If you saw that there were a great change in usage in other areas of the industrial area, then certainly you'd want to contact Great Lakes Water Authority and let them know, here are our change in circumstances, can we do something about this?
So like, this Dispo, has anyone had a conversation with them when they plan on expanding into the back of their, the other part of their building? Because I think they were potentially looking at also growing in there, right? So I think that would be a use of water. I'm not sure to what extent, but that would be something to consider.
That's just
Now.
something that's gonna need to be monitored, every quarter when the bills come out and you see what the volume is looking like, right? Chris can easily provide a report, and it's just something that you need to be mindful of as things progress and change, that you don't wanna have these large usages without talking to Great Lakes, cause then you're gonna end up literally paying through the nose and.
Right, the balance, and as Mrs. Malzahn said, our engineer, the village engineer, has recommended these numbers. You can get Great Lakes Water Authority to lower the numbers and lower your bill, but the problem is, if you have exceedances to those numbers, then you get penalized.
Yeah.
So you're rolling the dice that, oh, we'll keep the water usage down, we'll pay lower fees for that. But if the exceedances occur, then your penalties are gonna far exceed what you are attempting to save. And so,
Yeah, that's my concern.
yes.
Saving 40 sounds good now, but
Right.
if we exceed,
So you
because of
just have to
growth,
make sure
yeah.
that somebody is monitoring that closely. And I know Tim updated the software, and he's getting more of the SCADA reports that shows any spike in the system, and so he's helping to track that now, moving forward from a few years ago when the exceedances occurred. But, so you also have in your packet a copy of the contract that was provided to me about 5 o'clock on Thursday. So I point that out. I don't know if anybody has any questions of that, but as long as you're good with the numbers, you can make a motion to approve the contract amendments as noted in scenario 2 and have the agreements executed.
Mark, you looked this over? the contract?
I have, and just a point of background, the language that's being changed in the Fourth Amendment, it's your Article 5 of the agreement. The original agreement in this structure, the village has bought water from the old Detroit Water Board for years. When it changed to Great Lakes Water Authority, there was a contract executed in 2012 that included this Article 5 and other text, but Article 5 is the money paragraph. It was amended in 2013, a little bit out of cycle, as Mrs. Malzahn said, every 4 years. There was a reason for that, again, addressed the usage, and then it was amended again in 2016, which was in the normal cycle. 2012, you had the stray amendment, if you will, in 2013, the regular in 2016. There was some reason to adjust it or amend it again in 2018, which was done. And so what's before you, the text of the agreement stays the same as it did in 2012, except for that Article 5, which is the money paragraph. So everything else is consistent with what you've approved in the past, the only change being what is before you.
So I'd like to make the motion that we move forward with the Great Lakes Water Association industrial water contract.
Using scenario number 2?
Yes.
Support.
I'm sorry, did you say
Support.
support? Okay. So we had a motion by Bartholomew, we had support by Poznanski. Any other discussion?
How, if we had to reapproach them and ask for another change, how long does something like that take?
They're pretty responsive. I can't tell you you would get a call the same day or the next day or how long it takes to schedule a meeting, but they've been very responsive, and in fact, because of and to use a sports metaphor, it rains on both sides of the scrimmage line. I mean, they want this done because they want the continuity of service to the village. But GLWA has really been pressing or keeping their eye on this to make sure the village goes forward with it. As Mrs. Malzahn said, they have 85 or 88 customers, some of them much larger than the village. But I think they would be responsive. Again, I can't tell you how quickly or how thoroughly they would respond, but I think you'd be able to get their attention.
The
All right,
common
thank you.
thread in that is Teresa Newman is one of their coordinators between all the meetings, and she's the one that issues the invitations for the most part for this contract, also for their 96-inch main repair, which is happening out over the next 4 or 5 years. So I'm sure that you'll be getting continual invitations to attend those informational meetings. Every month or 6 weeks, it seems like they come up pretty darn fast. So you'll have an opportunity, if you needed to get their attention, to raise it at those meetings as well. So,
Thank you.
all right, so make a roll call on that for me.
Bartholomew?
Yes.
Poznanski?
Yes.
Edwards?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
President Malzahn?
Yes.
Fowler?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay. Item 10D, board-appointed trustee vacancy discussion. I put this on there because this scenario came up 4 years ago, obviously, when I was elected to president, and we had a vacancy created by my removing myself from the trustee seat. So obviously, the same scenario is going to occur here with trustee Poznanski once she assumes office. And a lot of people have reached out to me, I don't know if anybody else has been reached out to regarding this scenario, but it is a board appointment. And they're just curious as to what direction you are interested in proceeding. Are you interviewing people? Do you want them to submit letters of interest? Do you already have, somebody in mind that you're appointing?
I've been approached by just going with the person that had the next highest number of votes.
Yeah, me too.
I think
So
what
what we've
you
done
used
is
last
historic-
time was you letters of interest, and then we had an opportunity to look at the,
Okay. So
I
just
think at
thought-
this time, there's no vacant trustee seat, and without having the whole new board here, that this is a discussion that we shouldn't be having. This belongs to the new board. But that's my opinion. As Shelley is sitting here, and she should be here as part of this discussion.
True.
And you can make that decision, right? Or you could say, if anybody's interested in sending me a letter, and you could bring it forth next month and say, I have 3 letters, do we want more? Do you have 5 letters? I understand your point. I just thought I would bring it up because there's a lot of people in the audience who are just looking for some direction, so.
I would ask that we table this until next month's meeting. Make a motion in that way.
Second.
And anybody who has questions regarding, I'm more than happy to talk to you, but I believe this is a different board's discussion.
So we had a motion to table.
I second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
I guess I have a question. When would you be available to discuss this? Because you obviously don't want to discuss tonight.
As soon as I take office. I do not know that I will be in the office tomorrow when the votes get certified. Supposedly, it should be Tuesday. We'll see. And as soon as I'm sworn in, I do have plans to be in the office all day Wednesday. So come in on my first day. Come see me.
All right.
So you're just saying we're going to discuss this in December? Basically table it till
You can
December?
reach out through email. You can reach out through phone.
Right now, for the consideration, I recommend you, the board would appoint Nolan Care. I think there are 509 residents that would like his name to be considered highly, and I think you should honor that. Those residents felt confident in him enough that the point would approve Nolan Care.
That's how we've normally done it, right?
No, Nathan, it's not.
It has been done historically like that, though.
You might want to go back and check before you say.
Not every time, but.
Okay.
I agree.
We're on E.
Okay. Yep, we're on E, the added Lions Pack the Bus.
Make a motion? No?
I'm sorry, we have the, we had the added agenda item. Yep.
Hi, guys. My name's Jamie Lucero. I'm here on behalf of the Romeo Lions. Last year, I approached this body and asked for a special event permit. I do apologize tonight. I was ill-prepared. I tried to find the permit online, could not find it. But if you guys approve, I would be more than willing to go in tomorrow and file all the correct paperwork. We're looking to have another Pack the Bus event benefiting Samaritan House. Nothing would change from last year's event that you guys approved. We're looking to have it in front of, park a bus in front of the office pub. The school district is partnering with us on this again. So really all we're asking is that you guys allow us to park a bus on Main Street. We're going to be accepting donations for Samaritan House to help some families in need over the Christmas season. So really, that's it. If you guys have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
So you're not looking for any road closures?
No. Well, it's, like I said, it'd be exactly the same as last year. Last year, we parked right in front of the office. I think DPW put 2 barricades, one behind, it equaled about 4 spots. And they blocked it off, so the bus could park there, and it allowed us to, I think the bus took up 3 spots, and then it allowed us to have 1 car just in front of the bus in case any of our people need to warm up and didn't feel like going into one of the establishments right
Chief,
there.
would you have, I mean, I know you can't because you don't have the sheet in front of you, but do you remember there being any problems last year, and would you plan on signing it, approving it this year too?
It's not on the actual Main Street, it's on the parking that is owned by the village, so I didn't have to put in for any kind of permit.
Okay.
It's basically just a bus park there to take up more spaces than a normal bus, just to give them a little extra room.
Great.
And it's a good cause, we have no problem.
Okay.
What was the date?
Oh, I'm sorry, December 18th.
Okay.
The time
I'd
frame?
make a motion to approve the tentative event on the 18th,
Yeah. The timeframe would be from 11 to 4, I'm sorry.
from 11 to 4, assuming that all the paperwork
Yeah.
is approved.
Like I said,
prior.
I'm more than willing to go into the village offices first thing tomorrow morning and file whatever needs to be filed.
So you're going to need some barricades set out. Did we set them out the night before?
I think
I
you-
believe we did, because I don't know, what time did the bus get there?
So the bus is scheduled, they might, I've been communicating with Dr. Robinson about, I think last year they parked it Friday evening, just to have it out there so we could decorate it on Saturday. I believe they're trying to get it there again on Friday, just so they don't have to try and scramble to find someone on a Saturday. But it would be there, and then Monday they would pick it up and drive it over to Samaritan House. So,
I
so it
thought
could
we
be on-
parked it out in front of People's Driven Credit Union, because the office in Youngers didn't necessarily want all their on-street parking taken up over a whole weekend by a bus, wasn't it over there, or no?
no, it was right in front
I
of,
don't know. I remember
Okay.
dropping stuff off.
yeah, it was right in front. We directed everybody through socials as well to, if they were going to come and drop off, if there wasn't a parking spot on Main, to either park behind or go to the Speedway and run it over to us real quick, and they could even contact us as well, and we would run and grab it. But yeah, last year it was pretty successful. We packed a bus. I was hoping that we could possibly do 2 buses, but I don't want to get ahead of myself this year. So maybe the 3rd year we can have
Well,
3.
maybe you would
buses.
consider near the credit union, just because they have the drive-through.
Mhm.
It might be easier for people to actually just literally pull up behind the bus and then circle
Yeah.
around through the alley to exit on Lafayette or
Right.
back around. But if you're having 2, that might be another
Yeah.
good location to do.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a great location to, if we could do 2, but we're not gonna look to do that this year again. We're gonna
Okay.
try to build on the success of last year, and last year this community, with monetary and physical donations of food and non-perishables, we were able to raise just over $6,000 in goods for Samaritan House. So we're looking to build on that, and like I said, partner with the village as well and try to grow this.
So the bus would actually be parked there from Friday the 17th through Monday?
Yes, Monday morning they would move it.
Okay. So does your motion still stand? Because it's not just one day, just making sure.
So it's from the event's on the 18th, so we're going to get it from the 17th
Yes.
Right, 18th,
through
19th.
The 19th
Yes.
And the
but-
20th, the morning of the 20th.
and the 20th.
Well, no, the 18th is a Sunday, so it'd be the morning of the 19th. So it'd actually be, and I can talk to the school district and see if they wouldn't mind if they could do a Saturday drop-off. I know last year, like I said, they did a Friday drop-off. I can reach back out to Dr. Robinson, see if they wouldn't mind getting it there on Saturday instead, so it's not taking up so many spots for 3 solid days. But yeah, last year, we were there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, with Monday morning. Actually, I think Sunday, they came out right away and they moved it Sunday evening, and I can even see if they can do that this year. Because they came out on Sunday evening and moved it right to Samaritan House and left it there and went back and picked it up on Monday.
So it's a possible 16th is Friday, right?
Yeah, so, you know what, I'll revise that then, and why don't we just do the 17th and 18th, and I'll coordinate with Dr. Robinson to get it out the morning of the 17th instead. So it gives us enough lead time to decorate the bus for this event. And then it'll be out by the evening of the 18th.
So someone could put out the barricades fairly early on Saturday morning, the
Yes.
17th, to block off the spaces.
Yes.
In advance of the bus still coming on that day.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct, I'll work with the
So
school
we say
district to
6
do that.
AM on the 17th through
Call it 6, 7 PM on the 18th.
7
yeah.
PM on the 18th.
Yeah.
My motion stands with that change in date and time.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right,
All right, thank you, guys.
you're welcome.
Cheers.
I get the honor
Yes.
of, it is 8:41, and I shall adjourn this meeting. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Support, we needed one?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Sorry.